So today's class will start with the inflorescence and the flowers. Okay. So what is a flower? Flower is a modified shoot where the shoot apical meristems will form the floral meristem which will give rise to the flower. The internodes do not elongate and the axis get cut dead. So once it is formed, there'll be no further growth in the tips. Okay. The apex produces various floral appendages laterally on successive nodes instead of leaves. So this lateral appendage which is there, okay, this one which is there, floral appendage which is there is called as the inflorescence, is called as the inflorescence, students. So when the flower, the shoot tip transforms into a flower, it is solitary. It is solitary. So keep that in mind, students. It is solitary. Okay. Now, usually solitary flowers are there, or they'll all be in a bunch of flowers together. Okay. So remember that this is very important. Then, students, we'll go to the next part. Just a minute. Then we go to the next part, that is the inflorescence. So, what is an inflorescence? Inflorescence is the arrangement of cluster of flowers on a floral axis. Arrangement of cluster of flower on a floral axis. Whether based on whether the apex gets converted into a flower or continues to grow, inflorescence is of two types. One is racemose, the other one is cymose. One is racemose, the other one is cymose. So take it down. So what is racemose inflorescence? Racemose inflorescence is inflorescence where the main axis continues to grow. Where the main axis continues to grow. Okay. And flowers are born in an acropetal succession. So what do you mean by acropetal succession? Acropetal succession is a type of succession where the older ones are at the bottom and the young ones are at the top. And the young ones are at the top. Okay, keep that in mind, students, where the young ones are at the top. Whereas in cymose, the main axis terminates in a flower. Main axis terminates in a flower, and it is in basipetal succession. And it is in basipetal succession. So remember this, students, and it is in basipetal succession. So what happens in basipetal succession? The young ones are at the bottom and the old ones are at the top. So here there will be indefinite growth. Here there will not be much growth. So take down these two. Done. So we go to the next part, that is the individual flower. Flower is a reproductive unit of the angiosperms, okay, and it is meant for sexual reproduction, okay. So here a flower has a stalk or a pedicel. Can you see here? This is the stalk or the pedicel. So in leaf we have a petiole, in flower we have a pedicel, okay. So here they have a thalamus, a swollen end, which is called as the thalamus or the receptacle. Thalamus, thalamus of the receptacle. So the reduced leaf is found at the base of the pedicel and is called as bracts. Okay. The flower with bracts are called bracteate, and those without bracts are called as ebracteate. So remember this, students. Those without bracts are called ebracteate. Take it down. Done. And remember the students, all the floral whorls, that are sepals, petals, gynoecium, androecium, everything is born on the receptacle and nowhere else. Okay. Now we go to the next part. Flowers, they have four kind of whorls: calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. So which are arranged concentrically. So the first two whorls, that is calyx and corolla, they are called as accessory whorls. That means they can be present, they may not be present. Doesn't matter. But androecium and gynoecium, remember, they are called as reproductive whorls, and either one of them has to be present or both. So both can be present or at least one can be present. So keep that in mind. Okay, very important. Done. Take it down. Done. So the next part. In some flowers, what happens? The calyx and corolla are not distinct. That means they are fused to form a structure called as perianth. And the individual unit of perianth, it is called as tepals. Please take it down. It is called as tepals. So when a flower has both androecium and gynoecium, when a flower has both androecium and gynoecium, what is it called? It is called as bisexual flower. But if it either has androecium or gynoecium, ಎರಡರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದಿದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ unisexual flower ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Okay, only one. So take it out. Done. So we go to the next part, types of flower. So based on the symmetry, we have three types of flowers: actinomorphic, zygomorphic, and asymmetrical. Okay. Now we look at actinomorph flower. Here the flower can be divided into two equal halves if you cut it along the axis along any plane. Can you see here? Along the radial plane going through the center. So take it down. Done. Then zygomorphic flower. Here the flower can be divided into two similar halves only in one particular vertical plane. Can you see this vertical plane? Only one vertical plane. If you cut it in this form, the flower will not be the same on both the sides. Okay, this is called as zygomorphic flower. Take it down. Then now we go to asymmetrical flowers. What are asymmetrical flowers? It cannot be divided into two similar halves by any vertical plane passing through them. ಹೇಗೆ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಎರಡು similar halves ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. That is called as asymmetrical flower. So remember that. Please take it down. Take down the examples, which is very important. Done. So take this down, students. Based on the number of floral appendages, flower are of many types: trimerous, tetramerous, and pentamerous. So floral appendages are multiples of 3, 6, 9, like this. Tetramerous, there'll be multiples of 4, 8, 12, 16. So pentamerous, there'll be multiples of 5, 5, 10, 15, like that. So take it down. Next one. So types of flowers based on the position of ovary. Sorry, position of the floral whorls. That is the calyx, corolla, androecium in respect to the ovary and the thalamus. So it's basically in the position of the ovary itself, but how ovary and the other whorls in comparison to them. Okay. So let us look at the first one: hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous. Hypogynous, all the floral whorls are below it. Just first take down the names. Done. Now we look at hypogynous. So what is hypogynous? Here the gynoecium is in the highest position. That is, gynoecium is at the top, and all the other parts are flowing are present below it. So the ovary is superior. Okay, example mustard, China rose, and all this. So take it down. Brinjal. Take it down. Done. So now we go to the next part, that is perigynous. Here the gynoecium is situated in the center, and other parts of the word are present at the rim of the thalamus, almost at the same level. Not much change, almost at the same level. Okay. So the ovary is half interior. Example plum, rose, and peach. So take it down fast. Done. So now we go to the next one, epigynous. So what happens in epigynous? Here the margin of the thalamus grows upwards, enclosing the ovary completely and getting fused with it. So what happens? All the floral whorls are present above the ovary, and the ovary is inferior. So this is called as epigynous. This is called as epigynous. Okay. Take it down. Examples are important: guava, cucumber, ray florets of sunflower. So sunflower is not one flower. Okay, it's actually a inflorescence. It is actually a inflorescence. Done. So we go to the next part, parts of the flower. Look at this: calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium, as we saw earlier. So what is calyx? It is the outermost orl of the flower, and it is made out of sepals. The individual units are called as sepals. So the sepals are usually green, leaf-like, and protect the flower at the bud stage. So when it's bud, the sepal is the one which will completely cover the flower, which will completely cover the flower. Remember this, students. Okay. Then calyx may be gamosepalous, that is, the sepals may be united. Okay. Or polysepalous, the sepals may be free. Take it out. Done. So now we go to the next part, that is petals. So that is corolla. So individual unit of corolla are called as petals. So petals are brightly colored, which help to attract insects for pollination. Okay, which is a very important characteristic feature. So the petals are fused, they are called as gamopetalous. If they are free, they are called as polypetalous. Okay. So shape and curl of the corolla will vary in plants. So remember this. So the corolla may be tubular, bell shaped, funnel shaped, or even wheel shaped. Wheel shaped. So take it down. Done. So we go to the next one. Parts of flower. So here in the parts of flower, we studied all the parts. Now we look how they are arranged on the thalamus. So it is the estivation is the word. So it is the mode of arrangement of sepals and petals in the floral bud. So floral buds, how they are arranged is important. So ಯಾವ shape ಅಲ್ಲಿ which one comes inside, which one goes outside. So we'll study that. So here we have different types of estivation: valvate, twisted, imbricate, and vexillary. So we'll look at valvate estivation. Students, please do take down this diagram to remember how valvate estivation, at least this part. Sometimes they would give the diagram and ask you to determine what type of estivation is it. Okay. So sepals and petals in the oral just touch one another at the margin. Can you see here at the tips? They're just touching here at the margins. Okay. Without overlapping. Okay. So take it down. Valvate estivation.
Done. So now we go to the next one, twisted. So here one margin of an appendage will overlap with the next one. Appendage antandre petal will overlap with the next one, the tip. So one tip is inside, one tip is outside. That is for all the one. Okay. Example, China rose, lady's finger, and cotton. Take it down. Done. So now we go to the next one, imbricate. Here the margin of sepals or petals overlap with one another, but not in a particular direction. So what is happening? One is completely inside, one is out, the rest are twisted. The rest are twisted. So remember this, students, this is important. Done. So take down these diagrams, okay, students. Please take down these diagrams at the bottom. So in this, there are 5 petals. Can you see here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. There is a largest petal, which is a standard petal, which will overlap the 2 lateral appendages on the top. Okay. Then you will have 2 lateral appendages or 2 lateral petals called as the wings. And in the bottom, you have the one smallest petal called as the keel. Called as the keel. So remember the students, very important. Done. So next we go to the androecium, that is the male part of the flower. Okay. So androecium, it is composed of stamens. Stamens are the individual units. So each stamen represents the male reproductive organ of the flower. Of the flower. So stamen consists of a stalk, so called as the filament. This is the filament. It's called as a filament, and the other part is the anther, which is a bilobed structure. Take it down. Then, so next we go to the next part. So anther is usually bilobed. So what do you mean by bilobed? It has two lobes. It has two lobes. Each lobe has two chambers, okay, which has
Pollen sacs. The pollen sacs will contain pollen grains. Pollen grains. A sterile stamen is called as a staminode.
a sterile stamen is called as a staminode, which is seen in unisexual flowers. Okay, which is seen in unisexual flowers. Done. So next part. So androecium. Androecium. See, where it is attached is very important. Usually it is attached to the thalamus, but sometimes it might not be attached to the thalamus and it might be attached to the petals or sepals. Petals or sepals. If it is attached to the petals, it is called epipetals. If it is attached to the sepal, it is attached to the tepals, then it is called as epiphyllus. Then it is called as epiphyllus. Remember this, students. It's very important. Okay, take it out.
Done. So take down the examples of brinjal and lily, very important. Then, if the stamens of the flower are free, they are called as polyandrous. If they're fused, they are called as synandrous. Done. So we go to the next one. So cynandrous stamens, look at this. They might be monoadelphous. They might mean that is all they might be united into one bunch or one bundle. Okay. Then diadelphous stamens. The stamens might be united into two bundles. They might be united into two bundles. Example in the case of P. Or they might be polyadelphous. That means the stamens are united into more than two bundles. Example, citrus. Example, citrus. Then there may be variation in length of filaments within the flower. So some of the stamens might be longer, some of them might be shorter. Okay, some of them might be shorter. Done. So take it down. So parts of the flower. Gynoecium. Gynoecium is the female part of the flower. Okay, and it is made out of carpels. The individual units are called as carpels. So the carpel will have three parts: style, stigma, and ovary. Done. So we go to the next part. Stress stigma. Stigma is the tip of the style and is the receptacle for the surface of the pollen grains. So what happens? All the pollen grains that fall on the stigma will form the pollen tube and pass through the stigma. Then style is the elongated tube that connects the ovary to the stigma. That means it will pass through the style and it will reach the ovary. So the ovary is the enlarged part which will contain all the ovules in it. Okay. So it may bear one or more ovules which is attached to the placenta, which is attached to the placenta. So take it down, students. Done. So now we go to the next part. Pistils may have many carpels, especially in polycarpellary pistils. They can be apocarpous. That means the carpels are free, and syncarpous. The carpels are fused. Okay. So take it down. Done. So we go to the next part. Placentation. So what is placentation? So the arrangement of ovules of the placenta within the ovary is called as placentation. The arrangement of ovules on the placenta is called as placentation. Done. So now we go to different types of placentation. Let us look at the first one. Marginal placentation. Here the placenta forms a single ridge along the ventral surface. Can you see here? It forms a single ridge along the ventral surface of the ovary, and the ovules are borne on the ridge to form two rows. Can you see? One on the left and one on the right. So example in P. So can you see? It is just a small ridge. So all of them are placed over it. Done. So also take down this diagram, okay, so that it will help you. This one, okay. Next we go to axial placentation. So what is axial placentation? Here the placenta is axial. That means at the center, the axis, and the ovules are attached to the multilocular ovary. Can you see here? One, two, and three. Three multilocular ovary. Okay. So what are locules? Locules are the regions where the ovules are placed. So example, China rose, tomato, and lemon. Done. So next we go to the parietal placentation. So what happens in parietal placentation? The ovules develop on the inner wall of the peripheral part. Can you see here? Inner wall, this wall here. Okay, inner wall. Okay. Ovary is only one chambered because just one chambered. There are no divisions. There are no locules. Just one single chamber. Sometimes it might look like a two chambered one because of a false septum. Something might arise like this, but it will not completely join. Okay. So keep that in mind. Done. So we go to the next part. That is free central placentation. Here, the ovules are born on the central axis and the septa are absent. See, so you might ask, sir, what is the difference here? Here it is born on the walls. Here it is found on the central axis and the septa is absent. Example, dianthus and primrose. This is free central placentation. Done. So we go to the next one. Basal placentation. Here, the placenta develops at the base of the ovary.
with a single ovule attached to it. Example in sunflower and marigold. So full ಕೆಳಗಡೆ attach ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ in the ray florets. So look at this. Done. So next one, we'll look at the gynoecium. Okay, look at the students. After fertilization, the ovule develops into seed. This is very important. Ovules develop into seeds, and ovary will mature into a fruit. So take it down. After fertilization, that forms the fruit and the seed. Done. So next we come to the fruit and seed. So what is a fruit? A fruit is a ripened ovary. A fruit is a ripened ovary and develops only after fertilization. So fertilization ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ develop ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So it is a characteristic feature of flowering plants. You don't see it in gynoecium, don't see it in gymnosperms or in pteridophytes or in bryophytes or any plant group. It is a characteristic feature of angiosperms. It is a characteristic feature of angiosperms. Okay. So a fruit formed without fertilization of the ovary is called as a parthenocarpic fruit. So seedless fruits ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. So they will be parthenocarpic. Okay. In mango, coconut, the fruit is called a drupe. So there are many types of fruits. Okay, berry, drupe, pome, and all that. So we do not worry about it. Here we study only about the drupe. So they are one-seeded and develop from monocarpellary superior ovaries. So single carper, superior ovaries. So take it down. Done. So next one, we go to the next part. So the fruit consists of pericarp, pericarp or the fruit wall, fruit wall. So pericarp will have three layers: epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. So what is the epicarp? The outermost layer. Mesocarp, the middle layer, and endocarp, which will be covering of the seed. So there might give you some fruits and ask you which part is consumed. So in mango, ನಾವೇನ್ ತಿಂತೀವಿ? We eat the mesocarp. We eat the mesocarp. Okay. So remember this, we eat the mesocarp. So, ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತದ್ಯಾ? So remember that. Done, students. So, whereas in coconut, we don't eat the mesocarp. The mesocarp is the rough layer here. So the epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp we can't eat. What we eat is the endosperm. So you would have studied in the second year portions. The endosperm is the endosperm is the is made out of a seed coat and a embryo. So the embryo is made out of a radical, embryonal axis, and two cotyledons and two cotyledons. Okay, like gram and in P, like gram and in P. So please take down. Done. So we go to the next part. So a structure of dicot seed. Just a moment, students. Okay. Now, the outermost covering of the seed is called as a seed coat. So, which is developed from the testa and the tegmen of the ovule. Okay, ovule. The seed coat has two layers: outer testa and inner tegmen. Outer testa and inner tegmen. On the seed coat, there is a scar called as hilum, through which the developing seeds are attached to the fruit. Through which the developing seeds are attached to the fruit. Above the hilum is a small pore called as the micropyle, through which the water enters, and there is imbibition for the seed coat, and the seed coat will rupture and it will grow out. Okay, and germination takes place. So take it on, students. Done. So now we go to the next part. The seed coat, look at this, consists of an embryo and an embryonal axis, okay, and two cotyledons. So you have an embryonal axis which will divide the seed into two parts like this, okay, like this. So now the embryonal axis will divide it into two parts, that is epicotyle and hypocotyle. The one that is above the embryonal axis is called as the epicotyle, the one below it is the hypocotyle. Okay, then the cotyledons are fleshy, okay,
and they're full of reserve food material. So when the germination takes place, it has to provide reserve food material to the part that is below the soil, that is the root. Okay, so the two ends of the embryonal axis, the radicle and the plumule are present. So take it down, students. First, ತುಂಬಾ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ಗೆ, ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Done. So now we go to the next part. Structure of dicot seed. So a dicot seed will have two cotyledons, as we know, but they might have endosperm in them. So what is an endosperm? Endosperm is the mature primary endosperm nucleus that is formed during double fertilization, which is a food storing tissue. Remember this. In plants such as bean, gram, and pea, seeds are non-endosperm spermous. That is, endosperm is not seen in mature seeds. Whereas few seeds like castor, the endosperm is still there. So remember this. Okay, the endosperm is still there, and it can be used at the time of at the time of germination. So write down. Take it down. It's very important for Neet. Done. Okay. Now we go to the next part, structure of monocot seed. In monocot seed, there is a single cotyledon and they are all endospermic. Remember this, monocot seeds are all endospermic. That means they have a endosperm. So, but some are non-endospermic, rare cases. Example like orchids where the seeds are extremely small, Then cereals like maize and seed coat. Okay, cereals like maize, the seed coat is membranous and generally fused with the fruit wall. So the endosperm is bulky and it stores food So what that is why majority of the millets that we eat are all endospermic. Example, rice, ragi, wheat, jowar, corn, all these are having endosperm. Remember this, all these are having endosperm. So the endosperm is bulky and stores food. The outer covering of the endosperm separates the embryo by a protein layer called alluron layer. Remember this, by a protein layer called alluron layer. Take it down. Done. So next one. Here, if you see rice, you can understand, okay? There's a ridge at the end, okay? So where the embryo is present, the rest is all the endosperm. Okay? Now, it consists of one large and shield-shaped cotyledon, okay, called as scutellum. Single cotyledon called as a scutellum, and a short axis with the plumule and the radicle. Can you see here? Plumule and the radicle here. This is the plumule and this is the radicle. So remember, plumule is protected by coleoptile and radicle is protected by coleorhiza. Take it down, students. Fast. Okay. Okay. Thank you, students. We'll continue in the next class.